Hi, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes, and today I'm going to show you how to bake this really soft, moist, and flavorful banana cake and cupcakes. The ingredients are exactly the same for both, but baking time and temperature do vary. So let's get straight into it. You will need 3 overripe bananas, around medium size. You can tell they're overripe when they look something like this. 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence, 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 125 grams of softened unsalted butter, 2 large eggs, half a cup, which is 115 grams of firmly packed light brown sugar, half a cup of caster sugar, 1/4 cup of whole milk, as well as 1.5 cups of sifted plain flour. Firstly, pour your baking powder, baking soda, and salt over the top of your flour, and then just sift that through. What this does is that it ensures that there won't be any clumps inside your mixture later on. So once you've done that, just use a whisk and thoroughly mix it through, because you don't want to have like chunks of salt or chunks of baking powder later in your cupcakes or your cake. So just by mixing it through, this will help to make sure that everything is well mixed together and just evenly distributed throughout. Next, in a separate bowl, sift together your light brown sugar as well as your caster sugar. You might realize that light brown sugar might be a little bit harder for you to sift, but do not skip this step because light brown sugar has a real tendency to always clump up, especially if your sugar has been sitting like in your pantry for a while. That's what I realized. The fresher your light brown sugar is, the easier it will be to sift. Anyways, so you have to sift this through so that there won't be chunks of sugar in your mixture later on. And then as you can see towards the end, I had lots of difficulty pushing it through, so I just used a spoon and pushed it all the way in. And at the back, as you can see, it's stuck to the back, so I just scraped it and pop it back into the bowl. Once you've done that, just use your whisk and mix together the sugar until it's evenly mixed throughout. Next, add in your softened unsalted butter and beat that on low until you see your sugar and butter mixture starting to combine before you switch it onto high and beat that for about 3 to 5 minutes. You really want to make sure that your butter is soft enough before you begin this process, because if your butter was still too solid, it's gonna like flick around and create a big mess. Also, another tip is to make sure that the bowl you're using is a deeper bowl rather than a shallow one, because it will help, like the sides will be like a wall, helping to catch all the flying bits of sugar. So just keep beating that and don't forget to scrape down the sides as you go along, and your mixture should look something like this. So once you're done, add in your vanilla extract, and then you just beat that well until everything is incorporated. And once that's done, add in your eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. As you can see, a pretty big piece of shell went in, so don't worry about that, just scoop it out and ensure that there's no bits of shell in your mixture. So once you beat all your eggs and everything is nice and combined, it should look something like this. Next, beat in your flour and your milk in 2 different parts. So first you just add in half of your flour, and then you just beat that until it's just incorporated. Then add in half of your milk, beat that, and then half of your flour, beat that, and then finally the rest of your milk, and just keep beating that until everything is nice and mixed together and looks smooth. And don't forget to scrape down the sides with a spatula as you go along to ensure that you thoroughly mix through all of your ingredients. Next, in a separate bowl, peel your overripe bananas and pop them into the bowl. Ensure that your bananas are just overripe, they're not like rotten. The reason why you want to use overripe bananas is because it's much sweeter and the flavor is so much stronger, and it'll just make your cake just absolutely delicious. So you just want to peel that, put it in the bowl, and mash it with a fork. You don't want to over mash it such that it becomes like a smoothie, but you want to make sure that there are still chunks of banana bits inside. It should look something like this. Next, you want to just use a spatula to fold your banana into your batter So as you can see here, folding is literally just picking up your batter and flipping it and folding it such that you're trying to incorporate all these banana mashes into your batter. So your final mixture should look something like this, where you can still see the chunks of banana inside. And now you're ready to bake it! So if you're baking banana cupcakes, preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius, and then you bake it at 160 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, and then you bring it down to 135 degrees Celsius for another 10 minutes, and then bring it back up to 150 degrees Celsius for 8 minutes. Well, every oven is different, so if you're not really sure how your oven works, make sure you watch your cupcakes as they bake. And if you realize that they are burning too quickly, just quickly lower your temperature so that you can cook the insides without burning the outside. Now, if you want to bake a cake, use a 20 centimeter round pan and grease it lightly. Here I'm just using a cooking spray, and then I just use a paper towel to just lightly swish it around so as to remove any of the excess grease. And then you just pour your mixture into your pan and bake that at 150 degrees Celsius for 40 minutes, and then bring it down to 135 degrees Celsius for 22 to 25 minutes. You will know your cupcakes or your cake is completely baked when you stick a toothpick in it and it comes out clean. So now you just set that aside for it to cool and go on to make your frosting. For your frosting, you will need 125 grams of softened cream cheese and 30 grams of softened butter. Pop that into a bowl and beat that until everything is smooth and looks something like this. Once that's done, add in 1 cup of icing sugar. Be sure to sift it because icing sugar has a real tendency to clump up, so sift that through and then add in half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You can choose to not put cinnamon in it, but I find that the cinnamon really helps to complement the taste of the banana cake. You'll realize that this frosting is kind of a liquidy mixture. It's not so much like a buttercream frosting, because you really just need a very thin layer of frosting on top of your cake, and you can actually just eat it plain because it's that amazing. Like, seriously, I am not trying to outsell myself, but this banana cake really is great. So once you're done with that, add in about half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and then just mix it until everything is smooth and your frosting should look something like this. So all you have to do is spread on a really thin layer of frosting over the top of your cake or cupcakes and enjoy! I hope this video has been helpful to you guys, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes.